Hey guys, and welcome to episode 7 of the Damian Blue Show, comic book, and King of Pop Talk. Originally, episode 7 was going to be about concluding the Michael Jackson GQ article, but we learned today that Stan Lee passed away. Along with creating one of my favorite characters, Spider-Man, this guy was a legend. He was a talented, creative visionary who had one of the greatest attitudes you've ever seen. He got to do what he loved, sure, but he treated everybody that he ever met with kindness, and so many people around the whole world, not just America, but the world over, loved him and loved his creations. And even though his creations will live on, it's still just heartbreaking that he's gone. So I wanted to do a special tribute to him, and I figured we'd just do it for episode 7. So we'll catch up with the other stuff later, but I figured we're going to honor Stan Lee tonight I'm going to share 2 stories about Stan Lee, and then we're going to review something that I thought is a fitting product to review. And hopefully it's a send-off to the man who was a personal hero of mine, but also just a hero to so many people. Okay. And before I get started, if I hesitate during this video or I seem like I'm holding back, it's just so sad that he's gone. I guess he's one of those people that you just thought was going to be around forever. Okay, so here is a photo of Stan Lee and I. This is from about 2.5 years ago when I met him at the Kansas City Planet Comic-Con. I'm so thrilled I got to meet him. The 2 stories I'm going to tell are about they're 2.5. It's from 2.5 years ago, but the stories are like 2 days apart. So this photo was taken on a Saturday or a Sunday, but I think the first story I'm going to talk about, it starts on a Friday. So Friday before this photo was taken, I went to get Stan Lee's autograph, and there was this long line. And when I got up there, I introduced myself and talked to him for a minute, and I knew that Stan Lee had met Michael Jackson, who was obviously a big hero of mine. And since I'd worked with Michael Jackson on the Thriller 25th anniversary book, I brought one for him to give to him, and I handed it to Stan Lee, and he looked at me and he said, Michael Jackson was a friend of mine. And he smiled, and he looked through the book, and he looked up at me, and he goes, and he was such a sweet guy. And it just meant the world to me that one of my heroes was sitting there praising another one of my heroes, So, and I introduced myself, but I wasn't sure, there was probably hundreds, if not 1,000 people in his line that night for an autograph. So I wasn't really, it was kind of like a cattle call almost, but I was still really pleased that I got to have a few minutes with him. So anyways, the next day, this photo, we got behind this thing to take it, and I walked up to see him, and he smiled, and he goes, "Jason, how are you?" And I lit up. My smile was probably even bigger than in this photo. It just meant the world to me that here he was, in his early 90s, and he met so many people, and he remembered me. Man, it just, it made my heart so happy. And he saw what I was wearing, and he looked at my shirt and my necklace, and he patted me on the shoulder, and he goes, "Attaboy, Jason." And it just, man, like if there was ever a person that you wanted to remember you, it was Stan. So I was so honored. And I have goosebumps telling the story. So those are my 2 Stan Lee stories. And a bonus third one, I wrote to Stan Lee a few different times over the years, and every time I wrote to him, I'd get my comics back signed. And, it doesn't get any higher up as far as a comic book legend than Stan Lee. So the fact that somebody of his stature would take the time to do that just shows you what a class act he was all around. Okay, so we're going to continue this tribute to Stan by, it's called The Birth The Amazing Spider-Man. We're going to be reviewing this. This is a very rare product, and you'll see why we're going to be reviewing it in just a minute. So this is a hardback box, okay? You can hear it. Doesn't say anything on the side, so on the shelf it's just a red box. But we see this cover, this gold embossed stuff, and it's raised. It's just really cool. Okay, so let's open it up. First of all, it comes with the certificate of authenticity. So only 2,500 of these were made, okay? Pretty cool. Comes with a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 15, or Amazing Fantasy 15, sorry. And it's hardcover. It's got a nice velvet box. And then it comes with this Spider-Man ring, which is really cool. And it's real gold, guys. So, pretty cool. So I'm going to put this ring on real quick, and then we're going to... Okay, so why did I choose... I mean, beyond that it's Spider-Man and everything else, why did I choose to review this on the night of Stan Lee's passing? Well, you know, normally on our show, we've done it a few times where I've just done read-alongs, but I figured for tonight's episode, I'm going to let somebody else do the read-along. This package also comes with Stan Lee, along with this hardcover comic and everything else I showed you. It also comes with Stan Lee reading Amazing Fantasy 15. So I figured it'd be nice to hear from Stan one last time. So let's do it. And I'm just going to follow along. Here's Stan one last time.
Hey, like costume heroes? Confidentially, we in the comic mag biz refer to them as long underwear characters. And as you know, they're a dime a dozen. But we think you may find our Spider-Man just a bit different. Say, gang, we need one more guy for the dance. How about Peter Parker over there? Are you kidding? That bookworm wouldn't know a cha-cha from a waltz. Peter Parker? He's Midtown High's only professional wallflower. As you may have gathered, Peter Parker was far from being the biggest man on campus. But his Uncle Ben thought he was a pretty special lad. You're not fooling me, Petey. I know you're awake, and it's time for school. Gosh, Uncle Ben, you're worse than a room full of alarm clocks. As for Pete's Aunt May, she thought the sun rose and set upon her nephew. I cooked your favorite breakfast, Petey. Wheat cakes. Don't fatten him up too much, dear. I can hardly out-wrestle him now. The faculty at Midtown High was also fond of the clean-cut, hard-working honor student. Keep up the good work, Parker, and you're sure to rate a scholarship when you graduate. I'll do my best, sir. But alas, other teenagers can sometimes unwittingly be so very cruel to a shy young man. Sally, I was wondering if you're busy tonight. Peter, for the umpteenth time, you're just not my type. Not when dreamboats like Flash Thompson are around. I admire your good taste, doll. Get lost, bookworm. Look, there's a great new exhibit at the Science Hall tonight. Would any of you like to go with me? Science Hall? Ha! You stick to science, son. We'll take the chicks. Yes, for some, being a teenager has many heartbreaking moments. See you around, bookworm. Give our regards to the Atom Smashers, Peter. Someday I'll show them. Someday they'll be sorry. Sorry that they laughed at me. And, a few minutes later, Peter Parker forgets the taunts of his classmates as he's transported to another world, the fascinating world of atomic science. And now for a demonstration of how we can control radioactive rays here in the laboratory. But as the experiment begins, no one notices a tiny spider descending from the ceiling on an almost invisible strand of web. A spider whom fate has given a starring, if brief, role to play in the drama we call life. Accidentally absorbing a fantastic amount of radioactivity, the dying insect, in sudden shock, bites the nearest living thing at the split second before life ebbs from its radioactive body. Ow! A spider! It bit me. But why is it burning so? Why is it glowing that way? My head, it feels strange. I need some air.
Looks as though our experiment unnerved young Parker. Too bad, he must have a weak stomach.
What's happening to me? I feel different. As though my entire body is charged with some sort of fantastic energy. Wrapped in his thoughts, Peter doesn't hear the auto, which narrowly misses him until the last instant, and then, unnoticed by the riders, he unthinkingly leaps to safety. But what a leap it is!
That was one egghead who won't daydream anymore when he crosses a street. Yeah, you can say that again.
What's come over me? I'm scaling this wall just as easily as I can walk. Mommy, look at the man walking up the side of the building. That's the last horror movie I take you to, young man. It's incredible. I reached the roof in just a few seconds. What's this? I crushed the steel pipe as though it were paper. It's the spider. It has to be. Somehow, in some miraculous way, his bite transferred his own power to me. I can walk down this cable as effortlessly as the spider itself can glide along its web. I've got to have time to think. I've got to plan what to do with this unbelievable ability which fate has given me.
A few minutes later, $100 for the man who can stay in the ring 3 minutes with Crusher Hogan.
This will be a good chance to test my power again. Filled with excitement, Pete races back home and I'll put on some old clothes and leave my glasses here. But what if I fail? I don't want to be a laughingstock. I'll find some way to disguise myself. A few minutes later, I'll try for that $100, Crusher.
Well, if it ain't a little masked marvel. Step up, sucker. Now just relax, Shorty. I'll try to make this as painless as possible.
It works. I have the speed, the agility, the very strength of a gigantic spider.
Hey! Put me down! You win! You win! You're not human! Nobody can do that!
Wanna bet?
Greatest act I've ever seen! Sensational! Fantastic!
And that mask gimmick gives him just the right touch of mystery. It was terrific!
That masked character may be just what I've been looking for. Listen, friend, I'm a TV producer. With that act of yours, I can make you a fortune. And keep the mask angle. It's great showmanship. Here's my card. Call me. You'll be a smash on Ed Sullivan Show.
Thanks.
Later, at home again.
Showmanship? He hasn't seen anything yet. Since I have the powers of a spider, I'll design myself a spider costume and... Oh, hi, Aunt May. You look a little tired, Petey, so we brought you some crackers and milk. Crackers and milk? Bless 'em, if they only knew. Now let's see. A spider needs a web. This little device should just do the trick. I'll fasten one to each arm It'll operate by the slightest pressure of any finger. I'll need a name. Well, guess Spider-Man is as good as any. Looks pretty good if I do say so myself. So they laughed at me for being a bookworm, eh? Well, only a science major could have created a device like this. With some strong liquid cement at the end, I can pull myself up anywhere with my little web. And my costume is thin enough to wear unseen under my street clothes. Okay, world, better hang on to your hat. Here comes the Spider-Man. Now, anybody with the intelligence of a 7-year-old knows that if a man appeared on TV who seemed to be more spider than human, he'd be an overnight sensation, especially when his feats were performed without the help of trick photography. Well, you can just imagine how the public reacted to Spider-Man.
I'm seeing it with my own eyes, and I still don't believe it.
Sure, they look amazed, incredulous, awestricken. Wouldn't you? After all, when was the last time you saw a man with his own fantastic spider web? Okay, Spider-Man, cut. That's enough. Don't show him too much. Leave him begging for more. As his first TV spectacular ends, Peter Parker breathes the first sweet scent of fame and success.
I'm from Life. We'll pay any price for a picture spread.
No, sign with me. I'll put you in the movies.
Wait, we want an interview.
See my agent, boys. I'm busy. Rid of him at last. Hey, what's going on?
Stop, thief! Stop him! If he makes it to the elevator, he'll get away!
Made it. I'm safe now. That cop can never get down to the lobby as fast as I can in this high-speed express elevator. Lucky that goon in a costume didn't stop me.
What's with you, mister? All you had to do was trip him or hold him just for a minute.
Hey, sorry, pal. That's your job. I'm through being pushed around by anyone. From now on, I just look out for number one, and that means me. I ought to run you in. Save your breath, buddy. I've got things to do. And a few hours later, Peter, you know that microscope you've always wanted? Your uncle and I bought it for you this afternoon. Gosh, that's terrific. You're the greatest family any fella ever had. They're the only ones who've ever been kind to me. I'll see to it that they're always happy. But the rest of the world, they can go hang for all I care. In the days that follow, the Spider-Man becomes the sensation of the nation.
Spider-Man slated for new TV series. Spider-Man wins Showbiz Award. Spider-Man plays to packed house. Who is the Spider-Man?
And one evening, as Peter Parker returns home from a personal appearance, a police car in front of our house. What can be wrong?
Bad news, son. Your uncle has been shot. Murdered.
Uncle Ben? Dead? No, it can't be. Who did it? Who shot him?
It was a burglar. Your uncle surprised him, but don't worry, lad. We've got him trapped. He's in the old Acme warehouse at the waterfront. We'll get him. Your aunt is next door. The neighbors are looking after her.
Wait. I've got to go. I've got to get him. I know the old Acme warehouse. It's been deserted for years. A killer could hold off an army in that gloomy old place. But he won't hold off Spider-Man. The warehouse is at the other side of town. But I'll be there in no time.
Meanwhile, he's in there somewhere, but he'll pick us off like flies if we charge him.
All I gotta do is hold him off till the moon goes down. Then I ought to be able to slip away in the dark. You'll never escape again, murderer.
Huh? What the?
Surprised to see me? Not half so surprised as you're going to be.
Gotta get away, gotta hide. I must be seeing things.
There's no place on earth where you can hide from me. First, my web will relieve you of your gun. And then my fists will do the rest. That face. Oh no. It can't be. It's the fugitive who ran past me. The one I didn't stop when I had the chance. I hate to do it, but we'll have to rush him now. Can't take a chance of him slipping by in the dark.
Captain, look! It's him! On a spider's web!
And a short distance away. My fault. All my fault. If only I had stopped him when I could have. But I didn't. And now Uncle Ben is dead. And a lean, silent figure slowly fades into the gathering darkness, aware at last that in this world, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. And so a legend is born, and a new name is added to those who make the world of fantasy the most exciting realm of all.
So there you have it, guys. This was the CD that audio was on, by the way. So you can see it says that he reads Amazing Fantasy 15, which we just listened to. And then there's another track where he talks about the birth of Spider-Man. So this package, all in all, is really, no pun intended, amazing. And I don't know how hard they're going to be to find now that Stan Lee's gone. But if you want one, I'd say check, places like eBay, stuff like that, because they're still around. It's just they're probably going to be harder to find. What more can be said about Stan Lee other than, God, I'm going to miss him. And and it's not that I had a personal relationship with him, but just, I guess, miss knowing that he's there. Knowing that somebody who inspired so many people, and not just fans, but artists, writers, different people in the comic book industry, and now in the film industry with everything Marvel's doing, it's going to be weird. I'm sure he's filmed a few more cameos that we'll see in the upcoming future, but it'll be sad when the cameos stop, Anyways, I just want to say, as somebody who started my channel, coming up on, we're having the anniversary of the first film that was released, the Flash crossover, in a couple months here. And fan films were started because of, enjoying comic book characters, and I would have never enjoyed a character like the Flash had people like Stan Lee not been around to create characters. No, Stan Lee didn't create the Flash, but he created Spider-Man, and for my money, Batman and Spider-Man were always my two favorites. Okay, and maybe Spawn too, but regardless, Stan Lee just gave so much to the world as far as his talent, and it's just going to be a lot less rich without him in it. So all the love in the world to the fans all over that are going to miss him, and to his loved ones, sending you all the best. He sure made everybody feel like family, like an uncle or like a grandfather or somebody, but he sure reached so many different people across so many different places, just with his talent and creativity and his heart. Okay, so we're gonna keep Stan's memory alive, so please come back in 10 days on Thanksgiving, because we're gonna be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man #1, written by Nick Spencer, and we're going to have an exclusive Thanksgiving special interview for you guys with the writer Nick Spencer himself. So it's a like a few minute interview, but it's a lot of fun. I think you guys will definitely like it. It seems like a fitting thing to do given that now that Stan's gone, and so we're gonna do it. And as far as catching up on the rest, we'll get to it. I know there was a lot of stuff that was planned, and it's coming. I also want to take this time to announce that on January 16th of 2019, I'm going to be releasing a fan film called Magneto Was Right. It'll be right here on this YouTube channel. And it's the reason it's going to be released on January 16th is because it's going to coincide with the 10-year anniversary of the release of my first fan film, The Flash Crossover. And it's the film's going to be obviously dedicated to Stan Lee's memory, just because, God, he was incredible. And like I said earlier, I guess I just kind of figured that he'd be around forever, kind of like so many of the characters he created, And while it's really comforting that Spider-Man, now is in the hands of somebody like Nick Spencer, or, even when he moves on to other writers, it's just really great to know he'll be around not just in comic books, but in films and, TV shows and fan films even. But it's still just really sad tonight that the man who's responsible for Spider-Man and so many other characters, I can't even begin to tell you. Google how many characters Stan Lee was responsible for. It'll shock you. He really was like a modern day Mark Twain. I've heard that today, and it's really true. So go pick up a comic, say a little prayer for Stan. His wife passed away a few years ago, so hopefully they're together again. And all the love in the world once again to you guys for watching this show, and to the fans of Stan and his amazing, spectacular, sensational characters, because without him and his creativity, so many of us, myself included, we wouldn't be who we are. Thank you, Stan. We're going to miss you, and we love you a lot. See you guys on Thanksgiving, okay? Goodbye.